Well, I'm going to show you how to make a door wreath. Traditionally, door wreaths were made on wireframes with moss, and then everything was wired into them, which is still the way that we do make wreaths in my workshop in London. But you can also make them on floral foam, and it is an easier way to create one if you're not so used to wiring, and actually it's a lot quicker. So we're going to use this foam wreath, left for about 10 minutes in a sink to soak up water. You can tell when it's done, there's no air bubbles rising, and it obviously feels quite a lot heavier. Don't force it into the water, let it just sink and float, otherwise you'll get an airlock in it and it won't take up water very well. When you arrange your flowers, obviously the oasis, the foam, is wet. You need to keep it wet, so you are going to need to take it off your door and rehydrate it, either put your hose over it or put it again in the bath and with all the plant material in it, and keep it soaked, because if it dries out, it has the reverse effect on the flowers. It tries to dry all the moisture out of the flowers. So if you want your wreath to last 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to have to make sure you go out every, say, 3 or 4 days and keep this topped up. So because I want to make it rounded, the first thing I'm going to do is just take a vegetable knife and just take off the corner of the soaked, right? You can see then, you'll see if you've got any airlocks, because it won't be uniformly wet looking. Before we start to do any of the decoration, a good idea is to get a piece of ribbon or some string and tie around the wreath frame so that you've got something to hang it onto your door. So that's nice and tight. And then I'm going to use a mixture of foliages, and I'm going to start with some ivy berries, which I'm just going to cut into small pieces and then place straight in. So I've cut some of them down already, but just so they're about 4 centimetres maybe. You want to get as much use out of all your products, so you'll see as I go through, there's quite a number of things I cut down a couple of times to use. And then I usually think about putting something around the edge, some of it in the middle, and then some of it in the inner edge too. And it's important to put it in quite deeply, because you're going to hang it and you don't want stuff falling out. So make sure it's well into the foam. In all my kind of arrangements, if I use foliage, I tend to use maybe 3 or more types, because that gives a more sort of natural gardeny feel to things. So that's my ivy berries. I'm going to put a little bit of eucalyptus in next. This is the seeded eucalyptus. Again, I'm going to cut that down into small pieces. Very close to the foam to get it in, little thin stems. And then I've got the Skimmia japonica. So with something like this, it's a little bit more pointy, I'm going to push it around in the same direction to accentuate the circle. As we've got groups of different foliages, I tend to use one and use it all in the wreath so that you can, so you're spreading it all around. Use the rest of these leaves up and all these little side shoots. Use the grey Arindian thistles. Now these are branched, so I'm going to cut them down so I can use small side shoots and also the single ones. So they're not all totally uniform, so you'll have to decide where way you want to do that. Some of them I'm going to cut them all off. Just really want to get as much out of each stem as you can. Place them all the way around. Again, placing some in the middle. I don't want them all to be in the same position. And you can see how that gives it a nice texture. Grey foliages are very popular at the moment. And then the next stage is going to be to use the white wax flower. And again, I'm going to break that down into smaller pieces. So, and also I'm going to have to take off any foliage so I can get it into the foam. So I don't want those bits on it, so I'm just doing that with my fingers and thumbs as I cut the pieces off. This has a lovely lemony fragrance. It's a flower that originally was from Australia that's now grown a lot in Israel. One of the reasons we're using it in this wreath is it's quite a long-lasting little flower, quite hardy. Quite a delicate stem, so you need to put your hand quite close to the floral foam just to get that into the foam. So whenever I'm cutting down plant material quite small to go into something like this, I'm always thinking about how I can use it best. So for something like this Hypericum, I'm going to take the middle out and then cut the lower bit. This one I might get 3 out of, because you always want to make the most of your plant material and use it as much as you can. Then we're going to come to this pincushion protea. This is a South African flower, very hardy. It's commonly known as a Newton or a pincushion protea, but its real Latin name is Leucospermum. And again, I'm going to cut those fairly short and remove the foliage around them so I can get them quite deep into the foam. Those. And then we're going to come to the lotus seed heads and the cones, and they will need wiring, so you need to push a wire through the back of the cone and then just twist it together around the base of the seed head foam. And also, if you've got cones that need wiring, similar sort of treatment, you want to put the wire around the base of the cone and then twist it. Through the base and then twisting it. Sometimes they come already mounted on like kebab sticks, like these ones, so those ones can go just straight in. Just adding the final lotus seed heads to the design. And there you have your Christmas wreath ready to hang on your door.